Welcome to the MU Career Center's training on marketing your note-taking experience on your resume and cover letter. In today's job market, employers receive hundreds of resumes from applicants, and they typically only spend an average of 6 to 10 seconds initially looking at each resume. The objective of this training is to show you how to get your resume noticed by an employer and how to best show off your note-taking experience, as well as other professional experiences you have had. Your greatest goal with your resume and cover letter is to stand out to your employer. You need to do the following to show an employer that you are qualified for the job. Highlight your strengths. Everything on your resume needs to show off your amazing skills and strengths. Target your needs. What is the employer looking for? Who are they and what do they do? How can you meet those needs through your experience shown on your resume and cover letter? Look professional. Looks matter, so your resume needs to look professional and be a reflection of you. This means your resume is not just a laundry list of what you have done, but it is a carefully crafted document that gives the reader a strong sense of what you can contribute. Your cover letter is very specifically tailored to each position for which you apply. Together they show the employer how interested you are in their position, and they have no doubt of what you are able to do for them. Now let's reflect on your note-taker experience through the Disability Center. What are the basics of your volunteer work? What are your expectations? Here are some examples of what you might highlight as part of your experience. Focus on how many sessions you are taking notes in per semester, who you are helping, the accountability you are showing, and your academic engagement so you can do the best you can for this position. Record clear, concise, and error-free notes for each assigned class, usually between 16 to 48 sessions per semester. Help your peers receive access to course information who wouldn't have otherwise. Upload class notes to your software system in a timely manner. Account for every class session, regardless of content, and identify substitutes in case you miss a class. Complete surveys, assessments, and trainings on note-taking strategies, understanding barriers and disabilities, and numerous professional development topics. Be sure to engage fully in each class in order to take the most effective notes for your peers. Now that we have the overall picture of your position, let's consider the specific skills you have already and are learning. Here are some examples of the main areas you might mention on your resume. Communication. Engage in class, translate instructor information to clear notes, and communicate announcements, questions, and any vital course information. Training. Complete online training. Participate in professional development, understand and abiding by professional code of conduct, and follow expectations. Management and leadership. Serve campus. Be accountable. Make an impact on peers. Connect with students and staff. Administrative. Organize notes. Upload information to software. Attend each class. And demonstrate reliability. You can now drill down a bit deeper and get more specific. For example, what kind of communication skills are you learning, and what are some examples? What is the extent of your training? How would you describe your leadership style, and how have you used your management skills to be successful? You need to be incredibly organized and reliable to perform this position well, so make sure to show off those skills when you describe this position on your resume and cover letter. There are many more skills you might include. Consider what your individual focus may be. Now let's move on to who you interact with as part of this position. Who do you work with? Who are you impacting? How do you communicate and interface with these people? Some examples of who you might come up with are students, Disability Center staff, faculty, and software programs. Your community is important to consider because for most any future position, you will be interacting with many different kinds of people. Showing who you work with for this position and any other experience on your documents shows how you do so. There is a great emphasis on teamwork and service to others for many employers, so you will want to include this vital information in the content of both your resume and cover letter. With all of these things together, think to yourself, what are you enjoying most about this note-taking position? What are a few ways in which you use your greatest strengths to be successful? What part of this experience did you feel most talented? What are you going to take with you? This might look different for each person who performs this position and any position. What skills have you learned? What do you do better now? What actions do you take? Think about some action verbs you might associate with this volunteer work. For example, engaged, translated, and impacted. Who do you work with? Overall, what is your contribution to campus as part of this position? Taking all of these into consideration, we have started to put pieces together. Your strengths, skills, the action you take, the interactions you have, and some good context. Each experience on your document should explain what you did, how you did it, and ultimately what it can do for the employer. If you can do this effectively, you will have a document that will impress any reader and show off what you have to the best of your ability. Every piece of content on your document should be action-oriented, not just a bland description that anyone who does the job could write, but make yourself sound unique. Let's look at an example of what this might look like. When you are representing your note-taking experience, you want to take your description beyond the simple bullet, "Take notes." How can you add more information that will help the reader understand more about your experience? What questions would you ask to find out more? What did you take notes of? Who did you take them for? What did you do with the notes? How did you take the notes? How often do you take notes? It is important to add these key pieces of info when describing your experiences. Otherwise, the reader is left to wonder, what did you do with these skills that you are bringing? Now look to see what your bullet point or bullet points might look like when you're describing your experience. This is much more rich and robust and more strongly depicts what you did, how you did it, and what it might show off to future employers. A couple of examples are: record clear notes for 48 sessions per semester of Intro to History class, so peers with various disabilities may receive access to course material. Upload carefully edited notes to software system in a timely manner and account for each assigned course. Once you get the basics down, you should think about how to target your desired job or experience. Any job description you read, you should parallel with your experience to it. Think about customizing section headers. If you have some natural groupings of experience, you should consider making its own section and having the header reflect it. Your most important and most compelling information should float to the top of your document. Include any keywords from your industry in your document. Your bullets should be thorough without writing a novel. Now that you have thought about the information to include, where will you put it? Some general sections of what might appear on a resume are contact information, education, work experience, leadership and activities, volunteer activities, and anything else custom to you. References are on a separate page. Other than contact information and education, the other sections are completely customized to you and your experience. These could include work experience, extracurricular activities, volunteer work, and other sections such as honors and awards, skills, a summary section, and more. You should identify references who can speak to your work ethic and professionalism, but those names and contact information should be listed on a separate page from your resume. Let's look at a sample resume with a few example sections to show what your document might include. You can choose the format of your contact information, but just remember, your name should be the most prominent feature on the page, therefore you want to make it big and bold. When listing your phone number, be aware of the messages on your outgoing voicemail. For instance, if you have a 2-year-old niece singing on your voicemail, then make sure to change that message before sending out your resume. Also, make sure your voicemail box is never too full to receive messages. When listing your email address, always list a professional email address with your name or your initials. Then there are those items you don't want to include on your resume. This includes demographic information like your birth date, sex or gender, citizenship status, race, or family information. The next section to check out is education. Here you want to make sure you spell out your formal degree title as it would appear on your diploma, and make sure you know the exact degree title. No guessing. You can even look it up on www.majors.missouri.edu to double check. You can also include minors, certifications, or study abroad experience as well. Your GPA is good to have if you feel comfortable including it, although this is a gray area as far as when to list it. Please check with your academic department about standards in your area. If you are applying to positions that have a requirement and you are there or above, you should list it for sure. Include your expected graduation date and the name of the institution where you received your degree and the location of the institution. Next is the experience section. Employers will pay some of their closest attention to this section, so you definitely want to take your time when writing it. This section could be called many things such as work experience, or may have a customized name based on your background. For example, customer service experience or writing experience. So what do you write in your experience section? For each experience listed, the heading should include the following 4 pieces of information about your employer: your job title, the name of the employer, the location, and the dates of your involvement. Next, when listing your experience, it's best to use reversed chronological order, listing the most recent experience first on your resume. Use bullet points to organize information, as they allow an employer to quickly scan down the page and capture key information about your experience. For instance, looking at Clark's resume, I can quickly scan the page and see that he collaborated with account director, controlled Facebook and Twitter, and answered event questions. These are strong and compelling, and the reader can scan those quickly. Make sure to lead each bullet point with a strong action verb, using consistent verb tense. Avoid verbs such as assisted or worked. These verbs are generally non-descriptive and they don't get to the heart of your experience. Most importantly, make sure your content is strong and exemplifies those strengths, skills, actions, interactions, and context that makes you great. Remember your contributions and outcomes of your work. Numbers add impact and relevance to your experience and give greater weight to your resume. Lastly, relevant extracurricular experience can be just as important as the paid work experience you've had. For instance, you may have fantastic leadership experience in a sorority, fraternity, club, or other organization. Then you might consider adding an activities, leadership experience, or volunteer experience section. You can format this experience in much the same way as you did with your other work experience section. Give information on the name of the organization, your role in the organization, the dates you were involved, and a description of your duties. Again, use bullet points and remember to be specific when describing your involvement. So far, you've targeted the needs of the employer and you've highlighted your strengths through your experience. Now it's time to polish up the look of your resume. Here are some basic rules to follow. 6 seconds or less. As we mentioned before, an employer initially spends about that amount of time scanning your document to see if you are qualified, if you took time to carefully craft your document, and to get an overall impression of you as an applicant. Use some formatting styles such as bold, italics, or underline to make your best info stand out. 6 seconds or less. As we mentioned before, an employer initially spends about that amount of time scanning your document to see if you are qualified, if you took time to carefully craft your document, and to get an overall impression of you as an applicant. Use some formatting styles such as bold, italics, or underline to make your best info stand out. This helps the reader's eye go to important stuff. You should try to avoid or at least define Mizzou jargon. For instance, will an employer necessarily know what Zoo Crew is? What about MSA? Make sure you spell this out so that the employer can recognize the types of activities in which you participated. Also, be consistent in your verb tense, bullet point characters, font size, and overall format. Lack of consistency is one of the biggest problems students tend to overlook on their resumes. You should not include casual hobbies, personal photos, long paragraphs, or abbreviations on your document. Check, double-check, and triple-check your resume for spelling and grammatical errors. There is no better way to get your resume dismissed than having typos on your document. Lastly, you can find more than 60 sample resumes, cover letters, and more by visiting www.hiremizzoutigers.com so you can get an idea of formatting, font, heading styles, and so on. Check them out when you get a chance. If you have ever applied to a job or internship before, perhaps you've seen a job posting that says, "Submit a resume and cover letter to apply." And maybe you've wondered, what is the point of a cover letter? What do you write about? Your cover letter is an extremely vital piece of your application process and has a few purposes. For one, it introduces your resume. Second, it tells the employer why you want to work for them. It also tells the employer what value you'll bring to the company and how your skills or experience have prepared you for this position. While you may just use only one resume to apply to many different jobs, your cover letter is always tailored to the employer. It shows how well you communicate with others in written form, which is a strength you have honed through your note-taking experience. We recommend that students submit a cover letter with their resume, even if it's not required. It will help you stand out as an applicant. Now let's talk about the important pieces to include in your cover letter. The introduction paragraph should include the organization's name and the specific position for which you are applying. Also, mention how you found the position. For example, you may have found the job through the company's website or through a personal referral. If you heard about the position from an employee or shared contact, be sure to reference the person's name. Remember, your cover letter should entice the employer to learn more about you, so make sure your introduction is clear, concise, and attention-grabbing. In your second paragraph, you will want to illustrate your relevant qualifications, skills, and accomplishments. You will explain why you are a great candidate, so tailor your comments to the organization and job as much as possible. At this point, pull out the original job description and match your experience to what the employer is looking for. The third paragraph is your opportunity to demonstrate what you know about the company. This is your chance to show the employer you are serious about the position and that you have done your homework on the firm. When writing your third paragraph, explain how the goals, work environment, and job duties of the company align with your own experiences, passions, and motivations. Your final paragraph wraps up the letter and the next steps you will take and when you will take them. For instance, if you plan to follow up with the employer by phone, add a specific time frame for when you will call and make sure you follow through. It is best to end your cover letter with a phrase showing your appreciation for the employer's time and consideration. Throughout your final paragraph, make sure to sound positive, enthusiastic, and confident.